Hey guys! So, today we are going to talk about Webpack. And we're specifically going to talk a little bit about slow and unperformant Webpack and a few tips and tricks I can share with you as to how to solve that. So let's get into it. You see, just the other day, well, why do I keep saying that? Yesterday, I was working on this specific issue. My boss kind of came up to me and said, Frederick, this won't work anymore. And I kind of went, what do you mean? Well, the front-end code is so slow. It's so slow. Like using the dev server, hot module reloading and the dev server and all that stuff. I mean, it's a pain for everyone. And people are complaining and people are like really upset, and I kind of go, well, yeah, I know that part, I get that, but what do you want me to do about it? Yeah, like, can't you fix it? And I go, of course I can fix it. I just need the time. The problem is that, as with many things that are technical and doesn't produce a real business value is usually down prioritized in the prioritization queue. For the juniors out there, I want you to know that the seniors all probably already know this. It is damn hard to make a business case that will convince your boss to allow you to do technical improvements and stuff of that nature unless they see a clear value. Luckily for me, my closest boss, who also is one of the founders, is a technical guy. He knows that, well, if you can shave down the time it takes for a developer to wait for compilation or transpiling or whatever you're using that slows down the developer, that time is actually real money, and it can have a massive impact on the total amount of wasted time working. And if you want to look into that, you can actually look into, on average, if you make I think it's a minute or something of that nature, that a human can keep their concentration before they break their flow and stuff of that nature. So and then it takes a while to get back into that flow. Anywho, so he tells me, can you fix it? And I kind of say, yeah, let's have a look at it. So I went through the Webpack configurations. I started looking through, and this is like a standard, like every single person who uses an SBA uses a flavor of these tools. You have CSS modules, you have React Dev Server, you have like Babel and Webpack and like all of these things, right? And then they use inline styles and post like CSS loader and post CSS, all that good stuff. So it is like as bleeding edge as it gets in many ways. I mean, there are a few tools here and there that could be more modern, but that's the way it works, right? So I kind of sit for a day, roughly a day. I'm going to work a little bit today as well, because I have a few things that I need to politically check that it's okay to do this. So what I do is that I create 4 test cases where I run a benchmark on the build and the pipeline, the GitLab. We use GitLab as well. So I run a benchmark on how fast I get things through the pipe with my improvements. So the base case was half an hour. That's how long it took to get the code through the pipeline, and the average recompilation time on every change, because Webpack is watching the file system, and whenever I change something, the average rebundling time was 30 seconds-ish, 40 seconds maybe. Yeah, I know, that is not like remotely instantaneous, but that's how big the project is. The size of the bundle is 35 megabytes. I kind of just shimmed in to my boss, dude, we need to take control. We're like an obese person who can't stop eating cheeseburgers. 35 megabytes, that's more code than Ticketmaster has. One of the world's largest companies have I think the last time I checked they had 21, something of that nature. So I go through, I make a few adjustments. Things such as slicing things out into a vendor bundle. I know we should already be doing that, but as I said, this is kind of then some people asking me for help about this stuff, and honestly, this is why I keep telling people, you think you're a front-end developer just because like you're doing things such as writing CSS and all that good stuff. Yes, that is great, and that is absolutely part of being a good front-end developer. But for the most part, I find that people are much more happy with you if you understand all these build tools and all these concepts, because this is the sort of stuff that most of the developers have. They have no idea how to do it, and it's very tricky. I mean, frankly, I was the only person available that had the type of skill and knowledge to actually do these sorts of improvements. So this is highly valued, guys, knowing this sort of stuff. Anywho, so we start with that. We just start doing the chunking and I explain to my boss what I'm doing. He understands and like so forth. And then I show the improved benchmarks, and then I show, all right, maybe we can go without source maps, because source maps are also very heavy. If you're generating source maps when you're using the dev server, for example, that is extremely heavy. And he said, well, but we have that really lightweight source map that we can use. And I kind of go, well, why do you use it? Like it's very, like nobody uses it. We have a React application, and there's a React plugin. There's a browser plugin that allows you to debug the structure of the React. You don't really check the source when you're working with an SPA and React. Not that often. So maybe we can have an opt-in solution where you can actually define that, hey, I want the source map, as opposed to always having it. And he says, do you think that's going to make a big difference? Just trust me. I sliced that out. And then finally I say, all right, we are using CSS modules and all that other stuff. We generate hashes and for our file names. I'm going to remove all the hashing from all the file names, because regenerating hash takes time. Slice that out as well. And finally I tell them, what I would really like to do here is to kind of prove to you, that's too much work, because we're bundling assets and like images and SVGs and all that stuff. And I say, you see, the thing that people don't understand, and this is the thing that I have argued since day one with bundling everything into JavaScript, this is not a good idea. If the idea that yes, it's nice to have everything in one file, to have this dependency structure so that you can find everything that is associated with a single file, this idea that React kind of brought about that makes people do this. I get the logic, guys. I get why it could be useful in some situations. But when you're bundling things like this, Webpack has to work fucking hard to do all of this stuff. So if you can avoid it, it's actually better. And actually, it doesn't make much of a difference in terms of performance, because your images are going to be cached. I mean, how often do you update your images? Honestly, your static assets. I mean, yeah, sure, you could argue that the first network request ever could be useful, but honestly, no, I don't see the benefit, because the thing is that now, by doing this, and I explained that to my boss, because we're doing this, because we have inline styles and all that stuff, we have to generate hashes, which means that every rebuild is now going to have to take more time, which is slowing down our work process. I mean, there's no such thing as something for free, unless we used BEM, because BEM doesn't require any hashing. It doesn't require any computation work. You just add the name, and it is equal in every single way, practically. Anywho, rant about BEM done. Once that's been done, so I've now chunked out everything, removed all the hashing and all that good stuff in local development, of course, and finally had a look at removing the source map generation. The average build time for the Git pipeline is down to 13 minutes. So from 30 minutes down to 13 minutes. And the local reload time is down from 40 seconds to 2 seconds. And today, or rather at the end of that day, my coworker, I kind of showcased some work, and everybody was like, they wanted my man flesh. I don't think I've ever made like maybe that one time I cleaned the toilets. That's like on average, like a lot of good publicity came my way after this in the office. So that's a big tip, guys. If you can improve people's workflow, they get really excited. Especially like developers really like efficient stuff going on in their workflow. So those are my tips to you guys. What I want you to take away from this is that Webpack is a great tool, and having bundling and all that good stuff. There are use cases that is very important, but you should always consider when you add these sorts of things to Webpack, because it's not for free. Generating hashes, bundling assets, all that stuff is going to slow down your work process. And when you get to a certain size of application, it's going to affect your workflow a lot. So really ask yourself, I've said this 100 times before, I've said it. Always ask yourself, do I really need this? Because it's about more. If you really think about it, it's about more than what people are telling you is a good idea. I didn't have to be told, because I have a little bit of experience with this, that doing all of these things that people are so hyped about in the front-end world is a bad idea. Because I know it's a bad idea, because all they are considering is the impact that will have from one perspective, but from another perspective, it's not that great. As I said, it's very few people who actually consider how bundling and all that stuff is going to affect the wait time for you when you work, and that's wasted time as well. Just remember it whenever you have this idea that you're going to add another loader to Webpack. Trust me, just trust me, and have a great day.